Hello flutists and welcome to Flutiversity. I'm Jenny Tutton here with another play along video for our practice plan in F major and D minor. This is day 3, so let's get started. Today's practice plan is all about the switch from D to E. This switch has to coordinate 3 different fingers. Okay, we've got your pointer finger moving up and down, we've got our pinky moving up and down, and it's working in opposition to our ring finger here. Okay, so this is a pretty serious switch that you're having to do. A lot of people will either leave their pointer finger down or like leave their pinky up, any of that. It is very important that you use the correct fingerings for these notes. Okay, this middle D, pointer finger up, okay? Middle E natural, pinky down. Otherwise, your flute's gonna get real squeaky later on. Now you will also hear the difference in like tone quality eventually, but it will make your flute so squeaky if you don't be careful about these precise little bits of fingering, okay? You will sound like you have a hamster stuck in your flute and no one wants that. Okay, so we're going to practice carefully today to make sure that we are using all the correct fingerings, but I am also going to take a second to teach you some tricks to do when you are actually trilling the notes, so going really fast back and forth. There are a couple of cheats you can do there to make that easier. So let's get started. You'll notice at the beginning here, we've got that thumb B flat marking again, the little parentheses with the TH flat. So make sure that you've got your thumb over on this thumb B flat key. You just use that as your regular thumb B flat key, like you use it as your regular thumb key the whole time, and you will not need to put your pointer finger down for your B flats. Okay, so let's start with our very first measure. We've got a review from yesterday, F, G, A, B flat, C, and then we're gonna do our D to E to D for a very first shot at it. Let's go. All right, and we're not going to do that one too much because it's just kind of an introduction to get your ears hearing where we are in the scale. The next measure is where we really get going, okay? So we are going to practice just your D to E to D, and I want you to make sure you are moving all 3 of those fingers. I know if I don't do them super duper, it's hard to tell, okay? But when you actually do them, you should keep your fingers really close to the key so that you can barely see them moving. All right, let's do measure 2, D, E, D. All right, and seriously, feel free to pause me for a second if you want a little more time to work on this switch. If you have learned your D fingering with your pointer finger down or with your pinky not down for E, okay, those things can be a little tricky to fix. They just take a minute, okay? So please go ahead and pause the video and take the time to do that if you need to. It is totes worth it. Next one, we're gonna speed it up a little bit and do this passage in 8th notes. Great job. Next one, we're gonna start speeding it up a little bit, but again, only in short bursts. That's a great way to practice, is to take the 2 notes that are tricky and you move them real fast, but only once, okay? And it sort of gives your fingers time to reset, and the space in between gives your brain enough time to like evaluate what happened and what we can do to make them line up a little better, okay? This is a great practicing technique. Let's do measure 4, 1 E and 2 E and, okay. Great job. We're going to move on to the next one, which is the backwards of this. In music land, we call it the inversion. So we're going to start on our E and move down to D. In case you're wondering, it doesn't matter to me how you articulate these passages, okay? It is fine if you tongue them all. I've written them with no slurs. It's also fine with me if you slur them. Flutist choice. Also, you can sort of use it to practice whatever is most challenging for you. I personally have always been great at slurs, working on the tonguing always. It's been a challenge for me ever since I was a beginner. So I like to practice a lot of things tongued in hopes of getting it better and sound more effortless and keep my tongue relaxed. So anyways, choose however you want to practice it. Or maybe you're like worried about your fingers, so you pick whatever way is easiest for you. All of that, great choices. Okay, backwards one starting on E. Awesome. Okay, now we are going to get into our first set of trills, and this is where I'm going to show you a couple of things to help make moving fast easier. This is a place where you can leave some of your fingers down that I've just told you not to. This is a place where it's totally fine, but with a couple of exceptions to make it sound really good. So when you are trilling from D to E, it's not very practical to try to time all of your fingers together like this, okay? So instead, when we first start the trill, we do one of each finger, D, E natural, like correct, just the one. And then once you go back to the D, you're gonna just trill your ring finger over here, okay? The best option is a little tricky, but I think it's worth it. And what you do is you just sort of rest your pointer finger on your your C key up here without pushing it quite all the way down. You just sort of rest your pointer finger and it gives it a much nicer sound. If you try it both ways, you'll hear it. So let's play, we're gonna play those 2 eighth note D's and E's correct, and then we're gonna do our trill and we'll leave our pointer finger all the way up and you'll hear it has this kind of like, I don't know, flappy sound. It's a little funky, you'll hear it. Okay. Okay, now listen to what happens if I sort of half hole that pointer finger. The tone is sort of more consistent between the two notes and it sounds nice. So that is our goal. The most important thing is that you do the 2 real fingerings right at the beginning, okay? But then after that, if you can keep this finger resting, that's great. So pause the video if you need a little more time to practice this. We're gonna play it through a couple times together. And now we are going to do just the trill. So you can see that the trill is written there, but it's sort of an unwritten rule that you do those first 2 real fingerings to get you set up right. So we're just going to do them quickly like this. Okay, if they're real quick, it's okay if you don't put this pinky down. Okay, but it is important that you start the D with that pointer finger up so that you get a nice tone. Yeah, so let's do this trill a couple of times. I know it barely looks like my pointer finger's moving, but if you watch right here, you can see. Okay. And again, it's okay if you start without the pinky if you're going this fast at the beginning of the trill. Okay, next one, we are gonna start on the upper note. So this is something you might need in, I don't know, the Mozart concerto. Okay, sometimes we start the trills on the upper notes. So you're gonna start fingering E correctly, and then you're gonna finger D correctly, and then go into the trill, okay? Again, with the ring finger trilling here, and this key half hold if possible. Yeah, so make sure when you start the E here, this time the pinky down is really important because it's the first note that we hear in the trill. So we want it to be really good. Okay, so let's play this measure where we've got the eighth notes written out. Ready? Okay, no notice for bonus points, at the end of this, I also made sure that for the cute little sustained part of the D at the end, that I had my pointer finger lifted up for that so that I get a great tone. Yeah, okay. Now, the next measure shows you how this would actually be written in music with the teeny, teeny, tiny little E there that you end up playing as an eighth note, and then you move on to the trill. Okay, so let's start on our E, switch to the D fingering with the pointer finger up, and then half hold trill, okay? Yeah, good. And this is a lot of work on this ring finger right here, okay? So feel free, stretch out your hand, take a little break, make sure everything's moving, get your blood circulating, okay? That's part of the reason why we like to practice in little short bursts, is to make sure we're taking great care of our hands. Let's move on to the next measures. We are going to stitch our scale bits together. So we're starting with just our F, G, A, B flat, C, and then we're going to add our D, E that we worked on. So let's practice just the first measure on the third line there. And this is a nice review. Make sure your thumb is on that B flat key and you're not adding your pointer finger back down. All right, next measure, great review of practicing our pointer finger ups and pinky down for our D and E fingerings. I don't ask too much, right, it's fine. Okay, next measure, ready? For the next measure, we are speeding up, but we are giving our brains and our fingers resting points on those quarter note C's. So you have a little break to sort of think and make sure that your fingers are set up. Okay, so let's do that measure a couple of times. And then now, so you guys, the next little unit you'll see has our first dotted line. And this is because the practicing unit takes up more than just one measure. We are putting all the notes that we've done together so far in one group, but we're taking resting moments on the quarter note C's, okay? That way your brain has time to think about what's coming next and your fingers have time to make sure that they are in line. This is another great practicing technique, is to give yourself little pauses in between groups of fast technique. So we're gonna do this whole unit, okay? So it's 2 measures and on repeat. And notice we've got that space at the end there. That's, again, time for your brain to think about what it's done and sort of help line things up better for the next round. Okay. Again. Again. Awesome. Okay, now we are going to put it together. So the next unit, we just take out one of the resting points. So we are doing more at once without taking a break. So F, G, A, B, C, D, E, D, C, and then finish the scale down. Okay, my singing's beautiful now. All right. Again, go. One more time. Excellent. And then the last one puts everything together that we have done so far. Ready? Great job today, you guys. If you still have a little time in your practice schedule, I would go back and do this with a metronome. Just pick a tempo that feels comfortable for you. And either way, I will see you back tomorrow for day 4. Bye.